Hello. Today I want to show how to use jQuery in the browser, along with a couple of examples of how to use jQuery on your own website. Um, and hopefully this should be a short video and it should get you to grips with jQuery quite quickly. You don't require any JavaScript knowledge. In learning jQuery, hopefully you will start to pick up your JavaScript knowledge. But it would be beneficial if you have HTML knowledge and a background with some form of scripting language such as PHP or Python. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is open Google Chrome. We're going to navigate to a website that uses jQuery already, and presumably jQuery.com should be using jQuery. So I've chosen Google Chrome because it has the inspect element feature on right click, which gives you this very handy tool for debugging and also messing around. So the first thing we want to do while we're on this page is check if jQuery is actually loaded in. So we can do this by typing simply jQuery into the console, and it returns a function which is actually the function for jQuery. This means that we can access all of jQuery's properties and methods by simply typing in jQuery and then the function name that we want. And we can see in the console it's already begun to pre-fill this drop-down box with all of the properties of that object. The first example we'll do is if you were to pass parameters to the jQuery function, you could identify an object. So we'll simply identify the body object and hit enter. And what we get back from the function is this DOM element for the body in the page. And we can see the console is actually helping me to identify content within the body. Okay, so I can see I've got an element here with the ID main. So it's showing me that this is actually this bar here, this navigation bar here. So let's say we want to hide that. We can use jQuery to hide that. We're simply going to use the jQuery function and we're going to pass in the ID. Now in CSS we relate to an ID by using the hash tag. So hash relates to the ID attribute. So we have hash main, and then we put a dot at the end of the function to access a callback function. So jQuery is going to find main, and then it's going to run the next function, which I'm going to say is hide. And if I hit enter, you'll see the navigation is now gone. You could try this yourself. You probably should. You should probably pause the video right now and go and try this, because this is very simply the main purpose of jQuery is to be able to identify an element very quickly with very minimal code, and then to take action on that element with very minimal code. For you to do this in standard JavaScript, you could write your own jQuery functions and it would be an extremely large library of code, or you could write it every single time you want to find an element. It's a very long line. It's document.get element by ID, and even then this only gets me IDs, so it's very long-winded, and jQuery provides that for us. Okay, so now that we know that the main element has been hidden, why don't we show it? But why don't we show it with a little bit of an animation? Now I'm not going to do anything complex here. All I'm going to do is run the show function, but I'm going to pass in a parameter of slow so that jQuery knows to do that with a transition. And as you saw, um, the element faded into view and also slid into view. And I can do the same with hide. So we saw again, the navigation went out of view and it faded. Now that animation is actually quite weird looking. So let's say we just wanted it to fade in. We could just type fade in. And that actually looked a little bit better. The element didn't jump around and the element faded in and it was a nice transition. So what other transitions and functions can we run against an element using jQuery? The API documentation for jQuery is actually extremely easy to use and extremely good for an open source project. So let's look at some of the effects in the documentation. And we can see here we've got hide, fade out, fade in, as we've seen. We've also got things like slide up and slide down. So let's take a look at these. So all I've done here is clicked through to slide up. And the first thing jQuery documentation will tell me is what the function is called, what the first parameter is, and what the second parameter is. And then I can look down the documentation and see what those parameters actually mean. So the duration should be a number, or it can be a string. A string or number determining how long the animation will run. So the numbers could be, for example, 100, and it would be quite quick, or it could be 1000, and it would take much longer. Or you could have the strings, slow, fast, and various other string values which essentially relate back to this number, and you can find them on your own in the documentation. And then complete is a callback. So this is the function that's going to run once slide up is complete. This is where jQuery really comes in handy for handling sort of the order of events in your code. So let's actually try the slide up function. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just have a look at the body to see what I can work with. I can see I've got the header tag here for this top header up here. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that to slide up. Slide up. Okay, so yeah, so that slid up. It was a nice transition. So let's say we want it to slide down. So we know that it was slide up to get it up there. So let's try slide down. Okay, so slide down, great. So this has basically shown us how we can animate elements, take advantage of jQuery to select those elements quickly, and use the documentation to find more effects that we can apply to actually create a more interactive application online with more feedback. Okay, so how can we take advantage of all these animations and element selections? And this is where it comes into things like events. So an event is exactly the same as the way an effect is applied. So let's say I choose the body element and I want to apply an event to it. So for example, when someone clicks it, I want something to happen. Now, to tell jQuery what I want to happen when it's clicked, I pass it a function. And this is the same way you declare a normal function in JavaScript, but I haven't assigned it to a variable, and I also haven't named the function. Essentially, it's an anonymous function that's just being passed to this click event so that it can be executed when the body is clicked. And we can test this first of all by just typing in alert, hello, and hitting enter. And now the event is binded to the body tag, so when I click it, I see the alert hello. Great, it's all working. So I'm just going to click up on console to bring that same function up again, And rather than getting it to alert hello, I'm going to get it to select the header element and tell it to slide up. And what you'll see first of all is hello run, because this function is still binded, but then you'll see the second function run and the header will slide up. So what if we want to get rid of that event on body? We can use unbind. So jQuery, select the body, unbind, and then the function we want to unbind, the event we want to unbind, sorry, click, and now when we click the body tag, nothing happens. So we can see now we've got very simple functions to then initiate transitions. We can control when those events and functions are run. So after this, it's just a simple case of finding out more of the events that can be run. In the documentation, if we click on events, we come up with a lot of different examples of events. So we can see, for example, key press. So when someone presses a key on something, an event is run. In this case, a function has run to give me feedback about what I typed in. So I don't want to go into much more detail about the different things that jQuery can do without first putting it into a page and seeing how you would use it in a page. So let's create a new file. So I've just created a new file, index.html. Loaded that into Notepad++. I'm just going to very quickly fill out the document. Okay, so we've got our document, we've got our browser open on that document. So if I introduce some text, that's displaying, and what we're going to do is introduce jQuery into this document. Now we can do this without even downloading jQuery by simply typing jQuery cdn, and code.jQuery.com can provide jQuery to us. Now sometimes you may want to use the minified if it's a live environment, but if you're just testing, then I like to use the unminified because then you can investigate some of the code and see how it's working. So simply add the script type of text JavaScript to the page, and the source is going to be the CDN URL. And if we refresh the page, we can use the console once again to see if jQuery is loaded, which we can see the jQuery is loaded. Okay, so that's in now, and then it's on to video 2 to see how we're going to use this in the page, but I hope this part 1 has at least got you introduced to jQuery.